everybody. It's Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, number 160. I just figured out this morning that is a few weeks over 3 years that I've been doing a live broadcast every week at this hour. And so welcome to today's show. We're going to talk about how to change your singing voice. I guess the exact how to change the sound of your singing voice. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is because I had a question from one of my YouTube comments, and the question was, how do I change the timbre of my voice so that I get like a signature sound? And I'm going to address that today. So how are you? Let me just see if I can pull up my comments section here. And hey, Abby, nice to have you here today. And Random80, A-D-Y, hello, nice to have you here. Oh my gosh, aye, aye, Captain. Hello, nice to have you here today, Captain. And Poke Pup, hi, nice to have you here. A2 Sings, E2 Sings. Hi, nice to have you here. And Ro DDQ, hi. Great to have you guys joining us. Now, I look a little washed out today because it's so bright outside. I've got my window, I have the blind up, and I've got blue sky, but I've got lots of snow on the ground. We had a pretty big storm during the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. We had Thanksgiving last week, and we had probably 10 inches of snow during the weekend here at my house. Now, a lot of that's melted now, so I've only got about, I can actually see grass in some parts of my yard. But on the north side, where the sun's not hitting, we've got probably 6 or so inches still on the ground in the shade there. I have to give you my weather report. My wife gets perturbed at me. I like to watch. I have 3 channels that I watch the news on at 10 o'clock at night. I'll change each channel and watch the same news just to see if everybody's reporting the same thing. Anyway, I like the weather. Okay, so let's talk a bit about this idea. I remember studying singing, or in one of my singing lessons, and having this discussion. Like I do some exercises, and my teacher would say, "Now I think that's the actual real sound of your voice," and that kind of baffled me a little bit because I didn't really know what my real sound was, and so when he identified this sound in my voice, I was a little kind of mystified by it, because I was singing a certain song, actually from Ragtime, Wheels of a Dream, and I guess I had this certain sound, and he thought that was more my natural sound. I couldn't really tell if it was. It's still, even to this day, I think I was kind of mimicking the Broadway star, Brian Stokes Mitchell, a little bit. And he's got a great big, deep, resonant voice. And I think maybe I was kind of, I see his face, and I was kind of doing that. And but I don't know. I don't know if I was or not. The comment kind of threw me a little bit, because then I thought, I don't really know what my actual real sound is. And this is a long time ago. This is back in the 2004, 2005-ish time area, maybe 2002, sometime around that area. And since then, I've kind of let that go, because I think my true sound has now kind of emerged over a period of time. Let me say hi to a couple of you. We're going to talk a little about how that actually comes about. Okay, so, all right, I've got a little comment window that now I can move around the screen, and so I'll put it right underneath my camera here, so it doesn't look like I have to look away to read it, but it's right here. Okay, so let me see. Poke Pup says, I live in Canada. There's so much snow here. You know, you guys are a very stout people who live in the cold. We have a few in the United States that are really in just cold all the time. I mean, North Dakota, which is by Canada, right? Or North Montana, or any place up by the Great Lakes, I think, is rather brutal, or up in Upper Maine, and it just, I don't know how you do it. But anyway, it's exciting that you've got some snow. E2 sings, I'm afraid I've hurt my vocal cords because I can't sing high notes. I can't sing high notes quiet, small and quiet. Any exercise to heal. I've used remedies like tea and honey and drunk a lot of water, but it doesn't seem to work. E2 sings, I'm not going to give you any advice here until you've reported to me that you've gone to see the doctor. Because if you may have vocal damage of some sort, you may actually have hurt your cords. And so you've got to see the doctor as soon as possible, because you maybe shouldn't even be speaking or talking. And there are several things that can happen to a voice. You can get nodules, like little blisters on the vocal cords. If they harden, they turn to calluses, and then you're looking at maybe surgery. It could hemorrhage, maybe a little blood vessel ruptured or broke or bruised. It looks like a bruise on the vocal cord. And so there's a number of things that can happen. You really want to go have the ENT just take a look at your vocal cords and make sure if there is damage, then to at least know. And I would want to know that as a singer, and I'd want to know that as a teacher before I give you any advice on vocal cords that may have been hurt. And it's, and I've had that experience, and I knew I hurt my vocal cords because I sang sick one night, and I had the worst sore throat in the world. I already missed one show. 2 days later, I was due to do the show again, and I still had a sore throat, but I could vocalize my part. It had like a G, I think, or like a G4 that I sang, and I took 4 Advil and did the show, and it was a pretty heavy vocal part that I had. I was playing Captain Cochran and HMS Pinafore, which was a blast. But after that night, I knew something was different about my voice. I could feel this scratch in the bottom, interestingly enough. And come to find out, I had nodules not on the vocal cords. I had nodules, bilateral nodules on the false cord, just adjacent to the cords, the true vocal cords. And it did affect my voice a little bit. And I could feel it for like the next 6 months. So, but I knew what it was, and I knew what I had to do to take care of myself. And you really need to understand that. Once I knew what it was, I was somewhat relieved. And so that's the worst part, not knowing. Kedar Laszlo, hi. Hi, Chuck. It's amazing. I feel I've been directed to singing because I just searched the topic of this live video before you started, and it's amazing. Actually, me too, feel like today. Today, underneath my larynx, felt sore, a little bit of pain. If I touched it, I touched it times about, what about that? So if your larynx feels sore or feel a little bit of pain, you may have some reflux going on. In other words, some acid reflux. I get that sometimes down just right below my, I can feel it down in here a little bit. And probably it's radiating from the cord area. But again, you want to go see the doctor. I never advocate messing around with the voice. So I can sing and vocalize, but I don't know or knew anything about this before. Is Zantac still off the shelves? I think they pulled that, Stephen. I think they pulled it off the shelf, and they're doing further studies. So I think there's Perced or something like that. There are other antacids. I personally have gone off all of them, and I'm trying something new. I'm trying not to eat later in the evening. So I'm trying to, I haven't been real strict on this, but giving myself a couple out, at least 2 or 3 hours before I go to stop eating. So I don't want to eat right when within an hour or less of going to sleep. And I actually feel like it's doing a little bit better. I do notice that when I eat something really spicy, like we had some sushi the other day, and we had some of that, what's that green stuff, that's really, really like horseradish. Someone will know. It's left my mind for a moment. I put that on there, and I could feel the difference in my vocal cords, like in the next hour. And that evening, I could just feel like they were scratchy or lacking lubricant. They just like they were a little burned, I think, by that. What's the name of that stuff? I like it, but I've got to be careful on that kind of thing. Yeah, Kedar, thank you. E2 Sings, thank you for your advice. Yeah, let's really, folks, never mess around, ladies and gentlemen, never mess around with your voice. It can be damaged permanently, and you just don't want to, you just don't want to risk that sad situation. Okay, so now, how do you change? So let me talk about the psychology of this question. How do you change the sound and this question that was asked of me today was, how do I change the timbre of my voice so that I get kind of this signature sound? And my answer was kind of like this. Well, I guess I could pull up my answer. Let me just quickly get the answer that I gave today, because I felt like it was a good answer to an interesting question. And okay, interesting. It's not there now. All right, so what I said to my, I don't know where it went. I don't know, why wouldn't it be there? That's so weird. Unless he deleted his question, which maybe deleted my answer, but strange. Sorry about that. Anyway, but I just did it an hour ago, so let me explain. He said, that the question was, how do I change the timbre of my voice to get a signature sound? And my answer was that the exercises that I give my students causes the voice to find its natural sound. That is, the natural voice that you're born with. The exercises that I give you helps you find and locate that natural sound, which in most cases is very close to your speaking voice. Now, in the process of doing that, I've experienced that my voice has changed somewhat. Now, part of it's because I'm getting older, but part of it is that my larynx has come down a little bit, and that I have there's more resonance in my voice. There's more balance in the voice, um, and as a result of the exercises that I've done and that I experienced over the last 10 years, the last 20 years, really, my voice has found a sweet spot. Part of it also, as I mentioned, is because I'm approaching I'll be 67 in February. So the voice, as I've aged, has gotten deeper a little bit, but also the larynx is down, and the chord closure is more balanced and consistent. So not just when I sing, but when I speak. I've listened to myself on recordings that I've done years ago, and it's rather surprising how different I sound to me. And so my answer to him was, in process of doing these exercises, my voice found its natural timbre, its natural resonance. I didn't use all this terminology, but in essence, that's what I said. And so if he is not exactly in that place yet with his voice, in other words, if there's still some manipulation going on, something manufactured, something that encumbering the voice a little bit because of what he's adding, it may be that the exercises that you do and that I give to my students will actually eliminate or remove the added tension. The high larynx might drop. There may be better balance in the chord structure and better balance in the overall voice. And by doing that, he may find that he discovers not only his actual voice, his true voice, but his signature sound, which is him, truly his voice. That brings up a whole nother issue here, and that is, why are so many of us trying to get away from our sound, from our natural sound? Why do so many of us say, I don't like the sound of my voice? Now, maybe it's because you're not there yet, because because the larynx is up, because the chord structure isn't playing nicely with the air flow from the lungs, and all these different things. Maybe there's still some things out of balance in your voice. Maybe you can't bridge from chest to head yet. Maybe you don't have access to your head voice. Maybe there's imbalance throughout the area of your voice. Those are things that you work on, and that these exercises will help you get to a point of balance. And so therefore we haven't really found our true sound. And in going back to the story I told you a minute ago, I'm very comfortable now with the sound of my voice. I'm very comfortable with the sound of my singing. I really actually quite enjoy it. And it's a blessing, I guess, is the best way to put it. And so the exercises that I've been doing and that I give to my students helped me to get to this balanced voice. And as a result, I really like my natural voice. I really like my natural sound. And you know what? Others will like others like my natural voice, and others will like your natural voice. Someone else wrote to me this week and said he'd done a recording, he'd listened to it, he thought it was pretty good, and somebody said it was lousy, that he really it discouraged him so much. It just really set him back. Unfortunately, there are strange people out in the world here, in the world of the internet particularly, that will insult other people because they don't like the sound of their voice. But it's just a preference. I'll tell you that. Let me take a comment here. I'll tell you a story that many of you maybe have heard if you've followed me for very long. Getting back to Swati Shah. Hi. Swati, nice to have you here today. I struggle with high notes when singing Indian classical, but not when singing semi-classical. Swati, I think Indian classical is tough. It's a tough genre because the larynx is high, and there's a lot of pulled chest in that music that I've heard. I don't think that it has to be that way, but a great deal of it that I've heard is kind of that way. It's almost a cultural sound, and therefore you really have to either do that or learn how to do it in a non-abusive way, or to how to create that particular sound. And there are ways, of course, to do that, but it's a tough genre, I think. Swati. Brian O'Connor, how do you turn up? Can you turn up a tad? Is this down low? Huh. Let me just see here. My master's up high. Step it up video is medium. And the audio microphone here, let me just see if there's one more thing I can do. All right. Maybe that's better. I've got everything up, cranked up on high here. So sorry that the audio is maybe inadequate. Anybody else having problems hearing me? I'm actually pretty close to my microphone too. Thanks, Brian, for, I have you coming out of the speakers, but it's still very low. Wow. Anybody else having audio issues? Please let me know. So Swati Shah says, can you help me with that, even if I were to engage with you? You know, I think I would have to hear what you're doing, but yeah, I think so. I've had quite a few students in India, and they seem to have benefited from the lessons. So I don't see why not. Kyle B., hi, nice to have you here today. Jose Garcia, hi Chuck, what is the top 3 exercises if you only have 15 minutes? Okay, well, Jose's getting me back on track here. Exercise number 1, bubble lips. Why? Bubble lips gets the larynx down and keeps it down. It keeps it down while the vocal cords are making the right adjustments from chest to head voice. And it does that also. It connects chest to head voice without cracking and breaking and straining. So, for the guys, that's extremely powerful because the resonance or the vibrations in the voice is shifting from chest through the middle, up into head, and back down again. You can feel the vibration move up above the roof of the mouth into the nasopharynx up in this area and go back down again. But listen to the vocal cords are doing. You don't hear any. There wasn't a disconnect there, wasn't a break. And so I'm saying with a bubble in front of it. That's the voice at rest. So what we do when we're in between words. So, that's where you want to do that. For the ladies, you could start here. That's the F sharp. See what you're doing. That's an amazing exercise. You're going from your chest voice through the middle area of your voice or the bridge into your head voice and back down again. It's all connected. Even just speaking after I do that, I can feel the benefit on my voice. It's like a vocal massage. It's a great warm-up, and it just balances the voice like that. It's just an amazing voice. Yeah, so Stephen said quite low for you too. I had to turn off the diesel generator. Right? I don't know why, you guys. You see, it is on. I am sorry about that. I've got to investigate why my audio seems to be a little bit low here. I'm going to turn, now there's something here. I have another area here that is going to increase the volume. I expected that to happen in the master controls. Now maybe that's going to do it, and I'll turn up the gain, automatic gain control. All right, so let me turn on automatic gain. No, that didn't do anything. So I'll turn the gain up slightly. All right, so now I've got some gain going. Now, all right, so I found someplace else for this audio. All right, so let me know if this is better yet. All right, sorry about that, you guys, and thanks again for the feedback. Okay. Tad low, George says. All right, so, okay, you got it. All right. Perfect. All right, thanks. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. You know, and another thing I could do, I could raise this microphone up a little bit. Might look a little bit funny on screen, but, you know, I could get it just a little bit more level with my mouth. Okay. A couple questions here, and then, well, let me see. Someone else. I'm sorry. One of you asked me to do this because you had to leave. So the bubble lips, as simple as it seems, is extremely powerful. Now you can do the same thing with a tongue trill. In fact, there's some benefit with the tongue trill that makes maybe even slightly better in some cases. So it's again the same thing. So those two exercises are just very, very powerful and exceptional in terms of you helping improve the sound or change the sound of your voice to get more towards your natural sound. The larynx down where you speak, and in terms of the singing things that are going on, the singing mechanism, the chord structure adjusting appropriately from bottom to top, back down again, and the chords closing and staying connected appropriately from bottom to top. So it does it all in one whack with that bubble lip. Now the second exercise is the nay, nay, nay. Now many of you might tire of this, but it's a very powerful exercise for a number of reasons. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. So that's the A flat, and it does several things. First of all, it thins out the chest. It lightens the chest, so it's not as heavy or large or big or fat or thick or beefy in the bottom. Okay, I didn't say nay, nay, nay. I said nay, 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 nay. But then at the top, it deepens. It deepens it so that it doesn't go into falsetto. Nay, 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 nay. Yeah, so if I maintain that little bit exaggerated sound, Nay, 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 nay. So that's the high F, that's the F sharp 5. So, excuse me, I'm running over my Mac computer cord, which is already taped up, right? So that nay, nay, nay really helps to lighten the bottom and deepen the top. In other words, it's balancing out the voice. Another thing it does is if you've had difficulty connecting your vocal cords, let's say that you tend to be a light chest or no chest voice kind of vocal type, then this is a great exercise for you, because we're bringing those vocal cords together. We're getting them to be more appropriately adducted or brought to the midline, brought together. And a third thing is that it also provides for the connection from chest. Notice I didn't say nay, 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 nay. I didn't crack into falsetto. That little exaggerated tone, nay, 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 helps me get through, go from chest through my middle or my bridge area, or two bridges sometimes, into head voice and back down again with one continuous tone. Now, it's not a finished tone, is it? So the next thing you would do is once you get that well established, nay, nay, a little less exaggerated, a little more towards normal. Maybe not completely, but a little more towards normal. Nay, 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 nay. And then finally, now that, I'm making it through there without any difficulty, doing it with more of a normal nay. Nay, 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 nay. And so that's the power of that exercise. Those three things we can search for years and not be able to do those things. And that's a tremendously powerful exercise that gets several things done at once. Now, so these things are moving us more toward what would be our natural voice, our natural sound. The last thing is, well, there's two. We probably just said three exercises, but I'm going to give you, and there was tongue trill as well as the bubble lip. So it's I'm giving you more than the headline, but the dopey sound, the gee, 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 because this activates the muscles below the larynx. So if I said, duh, duh, a real stupid duh, then it pulls the larynx down. It activates muscles below the larynx and pulls it down, so it holds it down while the vibrations and resonance is shifting up into my head. So if I said gee 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 gee, if I maintain that dopey sound, gee 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 gee. Going up to the A flat, which is the top of my first, getting ready to, the next half step is the second bridge, so the top of the first. Why is this so vital? It's because it's retraining my larynx to stay down as the pitches go higher and as the resonance shifts up into my head, allowing this resonance to shift. If the larynx comes up, and it's just like swallowing. I mean, when the larynx, when you swallow, the larynx goes up and comes back down. So if the larynx goes up while you're singing, if I said, it just closes it right off as the larynx goes up. So you try singing like that. So the larynx down is what we want, or we want it resting at its resting level. And who knows but what that resting level maybe is slightly high anyway. And so this Dopey exercise is going to pull it down even lower than you talk. We don't want to sing that way, but for the exercise, it's good exercise, because then when you stop and go back to normal, perhaps it's resting at its more normal state. So if I say, for the ladies, it would be now that's a connected tone. It's going up into my head voice. So it does several of those things also. It not only keeps the larynx down and helps build new muscle memory, so that when you go back to another exercise, now the larynx is down, but it also helps connect the chord structure so that it's not going in the falsetto. Then I'm not doing that. So that's all a connected tone. Imagine that. There's no disassociation of the tone on the way up. It remained a consistent tone quality. If I did it without the G and said, that would be what? The high E. Oh, that's the F sharp. So F sharp 5, connected tone. So this also helps you get closer to your natural God-given voice, right? Now, in many instances, for some reason, the gets a little bit pinched when you're doing it. So we want to lower that larynx. You want to stay a little bit hooty as it goes higher. So the fourth exercise can help you do that. Just do it on goo instead and say goo 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 goo. Those four exercises are going to put your voice in such a good condition that over time and done as I've shown you are going to bring you, it's going to help you find your real voice if you haven't already. And I'm not saying you haven't, but for those of us who still have raise the larynx as we sing higher, or disconnect into falsetto, or pull the chest voice too high, these exercises that I've just given you, or maybe are too breathy meaning that the chord structure the vocal cords themselves aren't coming together adequately firm to stop an unnecessary amount of air leaking through the vocal cords. That's the cause of breathiness, you see. So these exercises all will be of benefit to getting you closer to what your natural voice is, and more really probably even help locate the speaking voice in the same way, the true optimal condition of your voice. And then you have what I think is the sound that we all are waiting to hear, the real you. There's no manufacturing, no cluttering, no added tension in it, no extra squeeze. It's just your natural voice. and oh, that's such a powerful sound. We somehow are nervous. As a listener, we seem to have this ability to identify that is you. That's your natural sound, and we just take to that. We really do. When someone sounds like somebody else, and you can tell they're trying to sound like somebody else, it's off-putting, and you feel like they're trying to sound like someone else. When you have this sense of this person is giving me their honest voice, it's a powerful moment, and we find by doing that we have a lot of fans out there that we didn't know about. Okay, now let me answer any questions about this topic or other topics that you might have. Now that the sound has been resolved, I hope. Ivan says, I like listening to some of my old karaoke recordings, and I like listening to them when I made them. Yeah, Ivan, have you noticed any difference through the years? I think that's interesting. Brix Marino says, hey, Chuck, can you explain SLS singing and mixed singing? So that's a great question, Brix. Essentially, SLS singing is what I've just talked about, and that is getting to your natural voice, your natural sound, your optimal sound. And in many cases, many of us already speak there. Many of us are already there in our spoken voice, but for some reason when we start singing, a lot of other things enter in. Nervousness, or we tense up a little bit, or we can't get into, we're stuck to it at a certain point in our voices, or we can't sing through it, or we're pulling our chest voices too high, or we've got too much of a breathy sound, and so forth. The exercises for speech level singing are designed to help us to get that optimal natural sound from each voice, the real you, without having any added trickery to it, manufacturing a certain sound or adding a certain trick or device to it to make it more interesting or something like that. It's a technique that eliminates tension and it gets you in a healthy condition so that your voice is going to, the vocal cords are going to be able to do their maximum benefit, to perform their very best self, so to speak, and to do so healthily and to do so all of your life. So no matter what the genre, no matter whether you're singing it, it's the same principles of chord structure, coming together appropriately, the larynx staying at a resting place where at your speech level about where you talk, and an absence of tension, appropriate vowels and words that you can understand. You can really hear what people are singing and understand them, and no matter whether you're singing in chest or the middle range or into your head voice, which speech level singing helps you do, you're able to keep that same quality the whole time. That's, to me, what speech level singing is, and it creates a wonderful, wonderful voice and a wonderful, natural sound. Mixed singing is a little bit different in that that's an element of speech level singing, in that it implies that when you're in an area of your voice where it's no longer appropriate, let's say, to be all chest, but some of the head voice begins to enter into the resonance and vibration of the sound, you get a combination of the chest voice and the head voice blending together and coming together. That blending together is the mix. It's mixed singing, or in other words, singing with a blend of chest and head. Now, the same thing happens in the next bridge above it. So this time, now you've got some of the resonance of the lower, of the bridge below, and some of the resonance of the area above this bridge. You get those two things combining, and that you have another mixed voice that is a mix of resonances from below and above. And then the next bridge does the same thing, and so forth. The critical bridge that seems to help all of the other bridges is the first bridge of your voice. So for the tenors and the bass and the baritones, that's the E, F, F sharp, G, above middle C. For the ladies, it would be A, B flat, B, C, C sharp. That area would be their first bridge. The mezzos and the soprano and the mezzos. For the true contralto, who have deeper voices than their other singing counterparts, or for the true basso, they bridge, the contraltos bridge where the tenors and baritones do, and then the true bass voice bridges an octave below where the sopranos bridge. So the A, B flat, B, middle C, C sharp, middle C sharp. So the mix definitely occurs in these areas of the voice, in these bridges, and where there's a blend of chest and head resonances or vibrations in the bridge, and that's mixed singing. And that mix is so powerful because it allows you to go through that middle area of your voice from the bottom, through the middle, into the head voice and the top without any interruption in the tone quality or in the tone, not without breaking, without extra straining, without gripping or grabbing, and essentially as easy as speaking, so to speak. It's different than speaking, obviously, because we're changing pitches and so forth, but hope that helps. Jose says he can't hear. My gosh, am I talking to myself here? I hope it's loud now, Kyle says. All right. Boogie Bird Games. Hi, Boogie Bird Games. He says, I am a low bass with a passion for musical theater. I have an amazing teacher, but she is very against modern musical theater. Where's she from? Is she from another planet? Would you have any song suggestions? Well, hey, Boogie Bird, what does she like? What is her preference for? Is she really likes pop, or she likes country, or she's very classical oriented? Let me know, and then I might have a suggestion for you. I have a passion for musical theater too, and I share that with you. Before I give you an advice, can you tell me what her preferences are? Maybe I can make you both happy. Also, he asks, would you know anything about subharmonic singing or throat singing? I do a little bit. I was playing around with the harmonics, the subharmonic singing. I think it's really fun. I don't think I can do it on. I haven't played around with it for a while. But you can kind of hear a little bit of overtone there. There's some really great YouTubers that they can sing songs. They can sing a song and accompany themselves in one voice. You know, they're singing a melody with the subharmonic or vice versa. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I think it's a blast. I don't know much about it. I can do a little bit of it, but very rudimentary. Okay, I think I got the message here that the sound is better. Okay, now Okay, so Hosea, something wrong, it looks like, on your end with sound. Uh, Boogie Bird says, very, very classical. Okay, so Boogie Bird, one option for you would be to consider looking into some of the music by Gilbert and Sullivan, and they're probably best known. They're called operettas, so it's an opera, but it really has more of a mainstream appeal. Would be the Pirates of Penzance, and you might look through some of the songs for basses. Sorry, I can't right off the top of my head give you an example, but in another one is HMS Pinafore, and you could look up the character of Captain Coqueran, and there's another one that's kind of the crazy guy in this. There's some bass songs. Go on YouTube and just watch one of the productions. There's different productions of HMS Pinafore and Pirates of Penzance. Also, Mikado. Those are well-known Gilbert and Sullivan operettas that are really fun, really interesting. They're generally known. These guys are generally known for their comedy, and it's just they're interesting. For a musical theater person, you would probably enjoy those more than any other thing that I could suggest. You could also look into two other areas that maybe there's a crossover for you and your teacher, and that would be the Phantom of the Opera. The songs in there may be a little bit high for you, depending on, I mean, I'm a bass. There's a low E for me today. But I can sing some of the Phantom's music. And now there's two Phantoms. I would look up not only Lloyd Webber's Phantom, but Maury Yeston. And he did a musical called The Phantom. It's not Phantom of the Opera, but Phantom, I think. Anyway, it's sometimes known as the American Phantom. It's got great music in it. And there may be several of them there that you could do that the Phantom sings. They're going to be on the high end, but if you can bridge, if you've learned how to bridge and get into your head voice, I think you could probably pull it off. Brian, okay, everybody says it's fine here. All right, I'm very classical. All right, so Maurizio Caputo. Ciao, nice to see you. Chuck, nowadays in pop and rock vocal coach, and nowadays in pop and rock vocal coach teach vocal fry, grit and cry. What do you think about it? Please let me know, please. I'm sure that in some genres of rock, those embellishments are a part of and added to the songs. Not all of them, but in many of them. And so I look at it from my standpoint. I look at it more as an embellishment, as an add-on. So if I were building your house, if I were building your vocal house, I would want to build a very solid foundation, a really wonderful structure sitting on the foundation, and with a great, in a great location, be really solid, and one that you would be very, very comfortable in. And then the embellishment would be, what kind of furniture you have, or the paint that you've chosen for your study or something like that. And so I look at those kinds of things as an embellishment to what I do, and that is I get the voice balanced, and I get you sounding your natural self in the best way possible, and in a healthy condition. Unfortunately, a lot of the embellishments are also abusive to the voice. Now, I'm not saying a vocal fry is necessarily, or a cry, but anything overdone could be damaging, right? So in some cases, there are opera singers who have damaged their voices. There are pop singers who have damaged their voices. There are metal singers who have damaged their voices. There are, every genre has damaged voices because they're abusing the voice. They're pulling their chest voice, usually is the leading cause, and they're spreading vowels and doing those kinds of things. So it's not just the rock genre. That kind of thing happens in all the genres. And abuse doesn't come just from poor technique. Abuse also comes through poor lifestyle choices. And those things occur in every single genre. So what do I think about it? There are some there are some things with the vocal fry that that exercise can fix. That is in some voices there's something called a chink, where you can't quite get adduction on one end of the chord structure, and so you get you get a little bit of an air leak or an incomplete vocal sound. And so a vocal fry is very useful for something like that. Generally, I don't use that exercise. I mean, it's not something I use every day. In fact, I've never used it, but I know it's used for that. It primarily comes into play when you're it's a tool that can be used to start from the very bottom. To help bring those chords together. But as far as like me putting stuff into the voice that's not there naturally, I don't do it. I do have students that they're trying to get their voices fixed because they've done that too much, or they're over compressed, or we're trying to get it more balanced. But so that's my job, really, is to get you in a good place vocally. And what goes on after, so I don't teach it myself. I asked Seth Riggs one time, because we used to use the cry all the time in speech level singing to get the chord structure together and maybe hold the larynx down slightly and so forth. And it's still used periodically. I mean, I was in a workshop a couple months ago, and I saw it used appropriately, and it was called for. But I asked him, we were with him all week, about midweek, maybe towards the end of the week. I said, Seth, I noticed you haven't used the cry at all. I'm just curious why. And he said, I've stopped using it because it took me too long to get it out of the voice. So it was a tool that he had used a lot through the years, but found generally that it became some kind of a crutch that the singer had to use. And then it became limiting to the voice because there was always a little extra squeeze or a little extra cry that wasn't needed, but it had become a habit. And so he was going about it other ways, and had figured out that the problem was what the problem was, and so he he stopped using it on a routine basis. I'm sure he uses it periodically as needed, but not very often. Okay, so Boogie, sorry, Bird Game says, I can bridge, but I am not always consistent. Thank you for the song suggestions and all the helpful tips. I just finished my last year of high school, seriously considering a gap year for music. Awesome. You know, that's great. Maurizio says, very, very clear. The metaphor of the house is great. Thank you. Okay. All right. This is a topic that this wanting to change the sound of our voice has a place if we have added things in our voice, or if our natural sound, our natural voice is not yet there. I advocate not adding things to the voice that are artificial or that are manufactured or that clutter the voice, because usually it includes added tension and unnatural kinds of motion and movement internally that ends up jamming up our instrument rather than making it better. And so I'm going for the basic natural voice, the sound itself, and trying to find that optimal and help you experience that optimal, wonderful sound that is your unique voice in its best condition possible. And everything else then is supplementary, but I think it leads to tremendously powerful things in singing. Yes, there are things that certain people expect to hear, and that's not to say that you can't do that, though, with your natural voice. It's amazing what we can do when we finally find that home base, that unmanufactured, uncluttered, with vibrato, able to sustain, being able to do loud and soft, soft and loud. Those are powerful things that will make you a great singer. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing. This is live number 160. And today we've talked about how to change the sound of your voice. And I hope this has been helpful. Remember, you can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. And I'll see you inside the next video.